Today is the 301st day of 2024. It's October 27th, and lots of things have changed in the weather world since the last time we've talked. Two big things that we're going to be covering today. First of all, this big area of thunderstorms down here around Central America. This is going to probably turn into something that we're going to have to watch in the future, a tropical system. And then we're also going to talk about this big trough that's coming into the western part of the U.S., causing some problems in the Pacific Northwest, and then it's eventually going to cause some problems in the central and eastern U.S. as well. Here's the latest from the National Hurricane Center. So that complex area of storms down there around Central America is going to meander over up into the Caribbean Sea, and it is going to slowly but surely start spinning and churning into some sort of low pressure system. Over the next 7 days, there's about a 30% chance that that will happen. As it continues to develop, it's going to wander off to the north, likely moving up towards Jamaica. Right now, that's pretty much all we know about this. There is no reason whatsoever to panic. And there's also no reason whatsoever to kind of hyper focus on this storm right now, because no piece of information that we have is confident in the projected path, strength, or intensity of this thing. I mean, all of the models are all over the place. The one thing that we know for sure is that there probably will be a storm. Maybe it'll get up to tropical storm or hurricane status, and maybe it will float up to at least the Jamaica, Cuba area. What happens from there is completely unknown. So it's just something to keep an eye on right now. There's no reason to start preparing outside of maybe in some of these Caribbean islands, especially concerning the rainfall. There's certainly going to be a lot of thunderstorm and rainfall activity with this. Just stay calm, don't ignore it, keep your eye on it, and we'll let you know whenever it's time to take it more seriously. Around November 3rd, the GFS model does show pretty well-defined system down here. It also shows another little system trying to form closer to Puerto Rico. And basically what happens with it is exactly what we've been talking about. It's going to meander, it's going to wander up to the north, potentially impacting Jamaica and Cuba. This is a little bit more of a robust signal. A lot of the models have shown a weak system. This one looks like a little bit of a stronger storm, maybe an actual hurricane making landfall in Cuba there. And then it goes up over the Bahamas and eventually gets latched onto one of these big troughs and goes out to sea. So that's one possibility of what could happen with this storm, and as we get closer we will let you know what the more likely scenario will look like. But the reason why I even showed you this model here is to kind of divert your attention back up into the lower 48. Look at these big troughs that are coming through, man. As I was saying at the beginning of this video, we've already got one big one coming into the Rocky Mountain region right now, bringing some cooler temperatures into Washington and Oregon. As I am filming this video, there's about 20,000 people without power right now in California, Oregon, and Washington as a result of some of the stronger winds and, some of the rainfall that's been happening over here as a result of this flow from the Pacific Ocean. Now, what's going to happen here over the next couple of days is that trough's going to deepen significantly. So we're going to see some really interesting weather over here in Idaho, western portions of Montana. Things are going to get downright cold. We're going to see some strong winds coming over the Rockies here, Denver, and we're going to see the big time warm up happen down here in the south and the southeast, even up into the north central United States. There's going to be a lot of lift out in front of this trough. And what does that mean? More than likely, as the trough tries to eject a little bit more out of here, we're probably going to see some strong storms on Tuesday. There's probably going to be an area of strong storms that sets up here from, let's say, Minneapolis down to, Kansas City, maybe even Oklahoma City. And then on Wednesday, things look really interesting a little bit farther to the south, because there's going to be so much moisture associated with this, and because there's just going to be so much warm air advection happening out in front of this trough. I really do think we're going to see a severe weather outbreak on Wednesday somewhere, likely in the south central plains, or the central plains, I should say, before this thing really starts to skedaddle. There will be some sort of a lingering severe weather threat on Thursday for the Ohio Valley, maybe the deep south a little bit, but the instability is going to be a problem the farther we go out into the future. The main interesting thing for me is going to be right here. Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be really interesting as far as severe weather goes. And look at this pattern, man. We're going to see another one of these big troughs as we go closer to election day. Right around the same time, that potential hurricane will be flirting with Cuba. Another big time severe weather outbreak is going to be possible in early November. So this is something that we talked about in my last video. As fall really starts going here, as the battle between summer and winter really starts happening, we are going to enter our second tornado season, and I think we're going to have a lot of activity in the central U.S. as we go through the first half of November. Here's a more simplified view of what's going to happen over the next several days. Look at all that snow, look at all that moisture, all that activity over here in the Pacific Northwest, into the Rockies, the plateaus. I mean, things are going to be quite intense over there. In fact, we're probably going to have some significant winter weather on Tuesday, Monday and Tuesday, in Wyoming and Utah, and especially the higher elevations of Colorado. We probably will see some winter storm warnings issued here, which will be interesting. And then we're going to see a massive warm up over here out in front of this. So in the last video, we talked about how we were going to have these major heat surges. This is one of those. The timing's a little bit different. I think in the last video, we talked about it being maybe 80 degrees in Minneapolis on Halloween. It looks like those really warm temperatures are going to happen before Halloween now. So things are progressing a little bit faster than what we originally thought they would. So you're still going to see that major warmth surge this week. But by the time we get to Halloween, it's actually probably going to be quite cool in Minneapolis, and maybe even snowing in some portions of Minnesota. And of course, we're going to be dealing with the potential severe weather here all the way down into the Arklatex region. The rain and storms do move all the way out to the northeast by the time we get to November 1st, but this is just rain at this point. I don't expect much in the way of severe weather on Friday. But speaking of rain, this recurring pattern where we see these troughs dig into the west and these storm systems form in the central U.S., much welcomed rainfall is going to be a result of this, but unfortunately, I think it's also going to come with some tornadoes and stuff like that. Storm Prediction Center seems to be on the same page. We got a big time marginal risk for severe weather on Tuesday, and that goes from a tiny sliver of the UP of Michigan all the way down into central Kansas. Lots of people will be dealing with some isolated severe weather on Tuesday, but I think, and so does the Storm Prediction Center, I think the biggest threat for severe weather right now is going to come on Wednesday, October 30th, from around Kansas City back down towards Oklahoma City. A little bit of Arkansas and Texas is included in there. And this is where I think we could see some damaging hail, some strong winds, and also a much better chance of seeing some tornadoes on this day. So if you live out here in this region, please keep an eye on this. And of course, we're going to have an update for you if things change. All of the temperature information that I was talking about in the last video is still valid. We're just a little bit ahead of schedule, all right? We're going to be much above average in the 6 to 10 day outlook here, especially in the southeast. And this is going to be one of the big things that actually fuels the severe weather that we're dealing with. And then on top of that, we're also going to see above average precipitation. Once again, as those big troughs happen in the west and those low pressure centers form, they're going to be digging moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico and just dumping it over here in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, even up into Missouri and Iowa and surrounding areas. So I know a lot of you guys are excited about that. It's going to be much welcomed rainfall, but remember, it's going to come along, unfortunately, in intense weather. So strong winds, hail, tornadoes, maybe some flash flooding. So just keep that in mind. But of course, keeping a positive mindset, we are thankful for the rain. So that's all the weather talk I have for you today. If you haven't already, please smash that like button and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There's a chance that we go live on Wednesday. It's a pretty good indicator of a live stream whenever we have one of those day 4 outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center. So if you don't want to miss that, if you want to get a notification whenever that happens, subscribe, turn notifications on, and we will see you then. Also, follow me over on Facebook, Instagram, X, all of the different platforms. We'll have rapid fire updates over there as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.